Caputo-Pearl. Thank you, Betty, for the introduction. It's great to see so many people here. I taught in South Los Angeles for 22 years. I live in South Los Angeles, down the street from the school that I taught at, Crenshaw High School, for many years. And I was a part of building an organization in the late 90s called Coalition for Educational Justice that was a parent, teacher, and student collaboration, different from the CEJ from New York, but sisters in spirit, I guess. But it gave us some practice at looking at what social movement unionism might mean. And so to me, when I think about social movement unionism, I think about a few different things. It's unionism that is democratic. It's unionism that is engaged with members. It's unionism that is engaged with parents and community, beyond giving a check to a couple community organizations, but actually in real work together over the course of years. It's explicit about fighting for racial and social justice. It's explicit in fighting against privatization. It's explicit in taking people on who need to be taken on, including a lot of Democrats. And finally, it's a unionism that is willing to strike. It's a unionism that is willing to build to a strike and strike if that's what we need to do. I'll give you a couple of examples. One microcosm and one macrocosm, but I see those as connected. Because anything that social movement unionism is trying to build has to start and end at the school site. Has to start and end with power at every school. So I'll give you one example from a school site, and then I'll scale that out a little bit. At Crenshaw High School, where I worked for many years, we explicitly worked with parents to build a coalition called the Crenshaw Cougar Coalition. Teacher members were very involved. Parents were very engaged. These parents met for 7 years every Monday night. This group was explicit about racial justice demands. Why is it that our school, with entirely African American and Latino population, does not have the same access to counselors, school psychologists, technology, even working telephones in the classroom when other schools do? Very explicit about demands on the district. The coalition was explicit in anti-privatization, pushed back 2 efforts of charter schools to come in and try to take over the school. Was explicit in taking on heavy hitters within the Democratic Party. At the time of the struggle that I'm talking about, Roy Romer, who was the chair of the Democratic National Committee, was our superintendent in LAUSD. And we had a big fight and a big brawl with Roy Romer. What was good is that this actually grew, and parents and school chapters and eventually the entire union got behind this more resources for South LA movement. And we were able to shake out a bunch of millions of dollars for big high schools, comprehensive high schools, overcrowded high schools in South LA. Now the important thing about this was that that coalition grew again, and it showed to me elements again of social movement unionism. And it grew again when Superintendent Romer reached down into the school and transferred me in clear retaliation for the organizing work that we were doing. The community rose up, and within 3 months I was returned to the school because of community pressure. The second thing... Okay. The spirit of Roy Romer is in the room. It grew again when one of our key parent leaders, Khalid Al-Alim, who lives in the Hyde Park section of LA, which is a little bit different from Hyde Park of Chicago. Hyde Park is one of the most underserved, most neglected, most dangerous areas in the city. And Khalid Al-Alim, one of our parent leaders, was beat up by the LAPD when he was trying to defend a group of young people from his apartment complex who were on the corner and who were getting harassed by the police. Khalid got beat up, and worse, they charged him with attacking a police officer. So our social movement unionism at our school in South LA had a challenge. We're teachers now who had just seen the benefit of parents fighting to get their chapter chair back at the school. That was in my situation. Were we now going to fight for Khalid and take days off from school to go down to the courtroom and demand that he be able to be released and with charges dropped and be able to take care of his health. And we were able to win that by a big pressure campaign and a public campaign, and we got him out. The third thing that we saw was deep leadership development. So not only people like Khalid, but people like Channing Martinez, who was a student, who now is a full-time organizer with the Labor Community Strategy Center. Picked up skills to not only go to college, but now to be a full-time organizer. Rhonda Adway, another parent, who actually turned the CCC, Crenshaw Cougar Coalition, into a 501c3 so that it could be institutionalized as an organizing group. So leadership development is another key aspect. So our challenge now, and I'll end with this, our challenge now in Los Angeles is to take that kind of microcosm work that was in South LA and actually now, as president, as vice president, as the other officers in the room that we ran with and won, is to take that citywide. We took office on July 1st, so this is about our 11th day. And one of the first things we did after the election, which ended on April 29th, is get out to the schools to make sure that everyone's got a chapter chair. Because we've been in a moribund status with a lot of schools without chapter chairs. Then we put out a letter in June. Again, before we're in office, put out a letter in June, saying explicitly to our members, we may have to strike. This district is not moving on fundamental things that kids and educators need, and we may have to strike, so start saving money each month. We got overwhelming response from our members positively about that letter. The third thing that we did in June, again, before we took office, but we felt like it was important to set the table, was we got down to the school board and we stood with community organizations around a resolution to target funding to high-need schools and around a resolution to put money into restorative justice so that students are not being suspended and expelled from school and dropping out. And the fifth thing that we did, just in our first formal board meeting, this was a couple days ago, is we brought a pretty sweeping plan of reorganization to our board of directors, and it passed unanimously in 5 parts. UTLA has not had a political director, has not had an organizing director, has not had an executive director, has not had a researcher, has not had a parent community organizer. We brought in a sweeping proposal 3 days ago to bring those positions in, work with our affiliates so that they can support us bringing those in, and it passed unanimously, and we feel like we're going in the direction we need to go. And with us, with our dues at a level that is half of what Chicago's dues are, we know that we've got to actually, we know that we've got to actually, over the next year and a half, combine our contract campaign and community campaign with a dues restructuring campaign. There is no way around it if we want to be financially stable. And so we brought that in as well. So I'll end with this. We're starting school a la Chicago, what Karen and others taught us, with a blitz of school site visits where everybody that we can get out to schools is going to be out in schools, and not just to talk to people, but to survey people face to face. This is what you told us you want to go, what direction you want to go in, tell us whether it is, add what you want to add, and we'll come back to the leadership conference in September and get this social movement unionism rolling. Thank you very much for taking the time to